Welcome to New Dead Order Podcast. My name is Ray. We got Parfait across the way.
How you doing today? Jared Parfait here with you. Ray and I get together to chop it up one more time, see what the world holds for us today. Ray, I hope everything's been going well for you.
Yeah, it's been going really well. Had a trip out to your old stomping grounds today out there in Houma, Louisiana. So that was fun.
You know, at Houma, Louisiana, that's like one of those places too where everyone always refers to the place they grew up in as God's land. You ever realize that? Like in the rural areas, like I'm out in God's country.
Yeah,
I'm out
in
in
rural
the
areas, yeah.
Yeah, like that's. Oh, no one ever says it about the city. I don't think. Like you ever notice how New Orleans is always has a fog? And I heard someone say that's just because God doesn't want to see what's going on down there. And I was like, that's probably a pretty good assessment, you know. But it's nice out and bright and sunny on the bayou where I grew up, or out here. I was in the joys of Franklinton, where it smells like dog food 90% of the time because apparently there's a dog food plant out there. Didn't know that. But Franklinton, yeah. Either they have one or someone told me that as a joke, and I've been repeating it for the last year. But the wind was blowing today, and yeah, it smelled like dog food all day in Franklinton.
That's not, yeah. That smell, I've smelled that smell.
Yeah, I smelled it every time
Have you ever
feed my dog.
Have you ever smelled raw coffee before it's actually been processed? Like the beans?
Oh, no.
So out Elmwood, they have...
Where at?
Down there in... close to Metairie, Elmwood.
Okay, in Elmwood.
Yeah,
okay,
Elmwood,
I wasn't sure where you said.
Where all the warehouses are.
Yeah.
They've got a guy that owns several warehouses, and he's got beans. He's got coffee beans, raw coffee beans.
Is it a good smell?
It's a horrible smell. It's horrible. And it's like, I don't think I'll ever drink coffee after you smell that. So
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am a coffee drinker. Yeah.
So coffee drinker. What do you put in your coffee? Since Ray showed up here with a soda in his hand, so let's analyze Ray's health situation here. And what kind of coffee drinker are you?
It all depends what my wife
That's not
likes.
a trick question. No.
Yeah.
What kind of coffee?
What do you mean what kind?
Like, are you a Starbucks PJ's guy and go get all the latte stuff and everything else?
But I do like Super 7. No, it's not called, it's called 7
Brew.
Seven Brew.
Yeah.
I call it Super 7 or something, or 7 Star. Sometimes.
Old guys tend to make up names for certain businesses that aren't the truth.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really enjoy them. They're the German chocolate cake.
See, that's not, you see, we're losing it here. That's not coffee.
It's just sweet smelling.
So they have German chocolate coffee beans is what it is?
No.
Exactly.
I think it's the flavoring that they throw in there. I think that's
more
what it is.
Processed stuff?
Yeah.
I thought we're getting away from that, right?
No.
Are you sugar?
No, of course. But my coffee,
not
though,
stevia?
we use stevia.
There you go. All right. We're making progress here.
Stevia, and we use
not half and half?
Not half and half, but we use, it's a non, what do you call it? No sugar. It's one of those.
So fake sugar. No.
Not fake sugar.
Oh, you're talking about like a creamer.
Like a
thing,
creamer,
right?
yeah, but it's a diet creamer. Let's say it's just a diet creamer. I'm not sure. So,
all right.
So that's what I use.
So you should start reading it. So there's an app called Yuka, Yuka. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's great. So it's great, and it's also it's horrific all at the same time. So it's basically an app. Not basically, it is. It's an app where you scan a barcode, and it tells you the ingredients in that product that you're consuming, and it gives it a rating. Green, red, yellow. It'll have dots next to it. It'll give you the list of additives that are in it. It'll give you, and then you can deep dive and click another button, and it'll tell you like what's the worst thing about this.
You know, that's the problem with the internet.
That's not the problem. That is the great thing. That is the good thing about
these reels with these guys that call themselves doctors, and they're like, here are the 3 things that you don't want to put in your body.
Well, no, but this one right here, actually, it's a nonprofit app, right? So like you could pay for an upgrade to where you could just like type in Google search, or not Google search, but you could type in, they have a database for it, and that's like the paid part of it. But other than that, like they don't run ads on their app. So they're not running ads on their app, so they're not geared towards giving you a rating that's something maybe better than the other. And some of the stuff too just may say like high in sugar, right? But high in sugar from something that's based in fruit isn't necessarily bad for you.
Right.
You know, but it'll also give you an alternative too. So like one of the worst things ever, like Ray's a weightlifting guy. We talked about that. He's traditional weightlifting and working out and everything else. Mm-hmm. And you go into a convenience store and you're like, man, I'm going to pass up the Little Debbie because I'm going to make better choices. And then you go to the protein bar section.
Little Debbie's are pretty fantastic.
I mean, certain ones are. So certain ones are. I mean, no, a Christmas tree cake. Like, I'm not going to scan that one. It's going to be a 0 out of 100% on that app every time.
Right.
But all that stuff like metrics and all that MetRx or whatever they call it, these big protein bars, and it is absolutely horrible for you. Like this thing will give you a rating, and most of that stuff is 0.
The protein bars.
Those protein bars, like if you're going to eat a protein bar, find the one that doesn't taste great, and the one that doesn't taste the best but is the best for you is the RX bar. It's like all natural. It's the best one that they have. It'll have like 6 ingredients in it.
It doesn't taste great.
It doesn't taste terrible. I mean, it's an acquired taste, but it becomes substance. And what are you trying to do? Like, are you trying to eat a candy bar disguised as a protein bar? Or are you trying to eat something that actually is protein and clean?
All of those bars have like this aftertaste, like this. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you mean. Yeah. They all kind of carry that. And that one, it does to an extent. My favorite one is a breakfast blend one, and whatever. It's like oats and whatever else, and they have honey on it or something. And so like that kind of adds a little bit. That's my favorite one that they have. They have a line of them. They have like chocolate sea salt and things like that. But no, I mean they get, they're chewy and whatever. But in the end, like trying to find something that is not a bad thing, like that's it. And then the other ones are like Cliff Bars. Cliff Bars aren't like the best, but like they're so much better for you than like Nutri-Grain or even what's the one that has like the nuts that are terrible podcasting here because I'm talking about something that I can't think of the name of. But anyways, it's whatever. You see it, it's in a clear wrapper, and you'll see like the nuts on the top of it and everything else, right? Like they're everywhere. It'll come to me later. But anyways, like that one right there, I'm like, oh, this one looks good. You can see that. Nope, like terrible for you. Like all this stuff is terrible for you.
Because they're a little sticky, aren't they? A little sticky?
Yeah, they're a little bit.
Sticky.
Yeah.
So when I was telling you about earlier, you pushed me away a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about your German chocolate coffee.
Well, no, not just that. No, like getting my niece, going to get my niece and bringing her up here from Houma.
Oh,
Louisiana.
yes.
So, which leads me back to my point is one of those 4. Well, I have her and she has 4. So basically bringing 5 little ones back up here to help support her.
Like moving here?
Yes, moving here.
Okay,
we moved her into a rental, and it's just something she should have done many, many years ago.
So out of Houma and into Ponchatoula.
To the Ponchatoula.
That's a good move.
Yeah, I think so, right? Just better support. The other part of that, too, is her oldest has been bullied, been bullied.
How old is the
9 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this hits kind of close. I have a 9-year-old.
Yeah, very pretty. And, of course, I'm Uncle Ray, and I'm a little biased, but she's a beautiful young lady, and she's been being bullied. So, I was bullied, something that we can possibly use if
what do you mean?
Taken, like, I was bullied when I was a kid, around the same
bullied how,
same
like
age. Names. It's more names.
So names,
shoved.
But okay, so let's, obviously Ray is not a white guy. Were you bullied in that sense? Or
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so it was on race. It was
race. It was my head. I used to be a skinny kid when I was 9 years old.
With that size head?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
With this,
I'm
bully. Exactly, right?
So, yeah.
Exactly. So it was easy, but it didn't affect me. It didn't affect me. But when I started thinking about it, because of what's happened to her, I was like, oh. But see, the thing is, I'm a bigger guy now. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a bigger guy now. But how would it affect a guy, for example, say you? Were you ever bullied?
I don't think I ever was, like trying to think about, was there a situation where I was ever bullied? And I wasn't. And did I partake in any bullying is more of the thing. And I'm like, I probably did.
You think you were. I hate to stop you, but there was a guy, I'm going to say his name, John. I'm not going to say his last name. Right. John. He was a smaller guy. Quick-witted. I'm not very witty. I haven't been. I've developed some wit now in my older age, but at that time, he was super witty, right? He had an entourage that would walk around with him just because he would bully verbally.
Right.
Right? You ever have to deal with anything like
No,
that?
no.
Or were you that guy?
No, I definitely wasn't. I was friends with every group of people. So my elementary school we had one class per grade.
Usually that's where it happens, though. A lot of bullying happens in elementary school.
Yeah, it does, and because it's easy and the teachers are distracted and everything else, and you're just trying to keep the class quiet is probably more to do with it than anything. But being in that small class right there, we had to socialize, so we didn't bully as much as we probably argued like siblings because we were together for second grade, third. I went to that school. I started that school in second grade, so second grade, third grade, fourth, all the way through seventh. And so it was almost probably more like a little bickering in a sibling manner. And then whenever we got to high school in eighth grade, it was kind of like, all right, well, like, that's my people, you know, like, but it was like those 30
Second
of
through
us.
seventh, and then eighth grade is high school?
Eighth grade high school at Vanderbilt Catholic. So the Catholic schools typically go from eighth through 12th.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. Well, at least like we were part of New Orleans Diocese, became the home of Thibodeau Diocese. Mm-hmm. And then in the Baton Rouge Diocese, which is where, Tangipahoa Parish is, it goes like St. Joseph and Holy Ghost go to eighth grade, but they're getting rid of these eighth grades, and kids are starting in St. Thomas Aquinas. They started accepting eighth graders now, which the New Orleans Diocese already did that. Mm-hmm. And so like that, that adds a whole new element of eighth graders going to school with seniors in high school.
Right.
Now we had separate lunches, and it was like a junior high and a high school kind of all in one, but we were all together. It wasn't an issue, but it does give the opportunity for that eighth grader to play with varsity players. Well, athletics is the reason why I think STA and these other schools are starting to get away from, are starting to allow the eighth grade.
I think because they don't
this is new for this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they don't have enough kids.
Where at the school?
No,
or just in general?
Athletics.
Because less kids, I think less kids play sports. And then I think not just less kids play sports. I think you have which we touched on before about specialization.
Yes.
Of sports. And so I think whenever you have a small school, a 2A, 3A school, and you have kids that are specializing, well, like they're not going to go play football because why? The team sucks and I'd rather not go get beat up. I'm just going to train in the off season, get ready for basketball or baseball or whatever sport that may be.
Right. And it does happen.
So, but no, I mean, but as far as like the bullying goes, I didn't deal with it. Like I said, like I'm sure. I mean, I know. I didn't see it a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just didn't see it a lot in high school. Now, mind you, there are some people that I went to high school with that's going to probably beg to differ because their experience was different than mine. But when I say I was friends with everybody, like I went to the band dance. Why? Because I was friends with people in the band, even though I wasn't in the band. I had friends that played every sport. Friends with them. I had people that played no sports. I was friends with them. I had guys that were into just making music. Friends with them. Like we had so many social circles, and like I attributed to just being maybe with a special group of people as far as my graduating class that went through Vanderbilt together. But like all the guys got along, all of them. Like not making up stuff, not just blowing smoke. No, like we literally like all the guys got along in high school. And so my experience was just so much different. The girls are the ones who had all the cliques, so it was like we wanted to hang out with this. Like one of our friends was dating a girl, but they didn't like this group of girls and they didn't like this group of girls. And so it was more of the girls that had the cliques, which honestly, they probably bullied more than the boys, but probably from a level of maturity and seeing through some of the BS that some of the other girls brought along with them. And, guys are young and dumb and immature. And, we always tend to grow up a little bit after the girls do in maturity aspects, that it probably had something to do with that, where we were like, oh, no, we can find a way to get along and hang out, whether it be whatever, not drinking underage. But,
What size was your class?
I really don't know. We were a small 4A school when I was there, but I don't know how many graduating seniors we had.
No?
I really don't know. That was a long time ago, right?
Yeah. I think we were at, I think it was close to 1,000. We were close to 1,000.
Yeah, that was like our whole enrollment.
School,
yeah, that's a Texas school.
Yeah, we were 5A school.
But the bullying aspect though, so was that whenever you were a little kid or in high school?
No, for me, it started when I was a little kid. All right, just body size. I was a geek. Okay, I was a geek, and So it started then. I started becoming more athletic. When I started becoming more athletic, that sort of started going away.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
there's
I
a level
started-
of respect, and then probably the company that you keep of those bullies didn't want to mess with
100%.
those guys.
So more to the 5th grade, 6th grade, it stopped a little bit, and then it started back up a little bit in the like the locker room and stuff like that, because I was still a geek,
Yeah.
but I was an athletic geek.
Yeah.
And
So you can hold your own. So you demanded respect from that aspect of you were their teammate,
a little bit, but they still
got on.
they still threw in a jab or an elbow every now and then. You know what I mean?
So I think that so obviously bullying is an issue nowadays, right? And we see all this stuff of the violence in schools and the school shootings and all those things, and you see this hard turn that they make of if you got in a fight in school. Whenever we were growing up, it was they usually end up making you come in the office together and y'all are going to talk through this. The disciplinary principal, which was usually a coach, and acted in a coach mentality, so to speak, of like, we're going to work this out and you guys are going to learn how to function together. And now it's like, if kids get in a fight, like in high school, don't they just call the cops? Like, or I mean, there's a cop on campus, but like, do they get arrested? Like, or do they not do that anymore? But weren't they doing that at one time? Like any kids threw hands, like you were like, they were taking you away and under arrest, not necessarily like reading your rights, but like getting you off the premises.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. No, I still think it's parents come in, they get debriefed on what happened, and
then they
suspended.
Accuse the other person
Of
because
course.
it's never their kid's fault. Yeah. That's a great
see it
part
all
of
the
it,
time.
which is one thing too, where, we talk about bullying and it going on right now. I think it's very easy to be a bully right now. I think it's very easy, and I think that's why they have so many of them. I think it's probably the easiest time to have ever been a bully.
You ever? I think we talked about this too. I'm a gamer. You ever play Call of Duty?
No.
Oh, yeah. There's kids on there who bully you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and I think it translates into this false sense of security where they do it in online gaming, and then it carries over to school, right? And so whenever and what I mean by be easy is the fact that like we are so non-confrontational nowadays as a society. We're keyboard warriors.
Oh yeah.
Right. We sit behind microphones and we could talk trash about people. And I say we as in a collective we of anybody who does, and you hear people arguing, whether it be on radio or a podcast, and then, they'll have podcast wars or whatever, where this one will talk trash about this other one. Right. So it becomes very easy and convenient to be a bully because we're so non-confrontational that the risk of getting punched in the mouth is almost non-existent nowadays.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And the parents come to the rescue of the kids so much of protecting them without giving them the resources to protect themselves. Like, and I'm not saying every parent, obviously, but I think that you have a lot of it where they tell you how you should handle it. But in the end, they go confront the parents of the other kid and never allow the kids to work things out.
That's true. The other part of that too today is because of social media, it's tough to get away from it because in reposting, this kid's got it and they're posting what happened or and it just keeps coming back to that kid that it happened to,
which is like
that is tough.
And reposting. So this is another thing. Like, so, I mean, obviously we didn't have cell phones with us whenever we were in high school or college even, we had cell phones in college, but not an iPhone, which was a game changer. The amount of times that you see,
ABCDE.
Yeah, the amount of times that you see like a fight or a confrontation and something is going on and then someone sends you a video and then you realize that the 2-3 however many kids are involved in it or the only ones involved in it, and every single person around them has a phone out.
Yeah.
Not trying to break it up, not trying to get their friends back, not jumping in there and nope, pull out the phone and record it. And I'm like,
World star.
Yeah. And you hear people yelling in the background and it's a laugh and it's a joke and everything else. And it's just like, okay, so like that was an incident where 2 kids got in a fight Everybody has their phones out. Everybody sends it to their parents. Their parents then send it to somewhere else. And then if you've ever been on Facebook and every community chat thing, it's there.
Again and again.
A fight at Ponchatoula High, 10 minutes later, 35 parents are sharing it on the Ponchatoula group chat or whatever it is, the community post.
That's right.
And saying what happened at the school. And it's just like, what value is it to share that post other than just being the first one to share? Like, I mean, do you get points for that in life that I need to start keeping track of? Because it seems like that is the race to be the first and not be right is the goal now.
Yeah, yeah. And just, the comments that follow suit, like, I need to get my kid out of there. You're not taking your kid out of there.
Yeah. Right? Well, where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go? Hammond High? What are you going to do? So it's just, and the other part to that too is these young parents, they're trying to figure out how are they going to teach, how are they going to lead these kids with all this social media going on? How?
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's a young parent though. I mean, as an old parent, like I have to learn how to adjust and adapt to the things that are going on. My kid's 9.
You're right.
You're talking about your niece.
You're right.
Who was being bullied. Guess what? My son's 9 years old. They have Kids Messenger. Kids Messenger. Mm-hmm. They can text each other. They can FaceTime each other. He does it all the time. They have group chats. Boom, blows up. Here's the thing now. Every single thing that happens on that Kids Messenger gets sent to my phone, gets sent to my wife's phone as well. Mm-hmm. So we are fully aware of all chat, all pictures, all everything, who they're talking to on a regular basis, which is great. I mean, it adds to that. Am I being a helicopter parent or am I trying to just not let him do something really stupid? And there's a really fine line of letting him make mistakes and then also letting him ruin some other kid's, not life, but, for the time being, for their life, like ruin their life for the next week at school because someone thought it would be funny on Kids Messenger to say something or make a comment or whatever. And then that becomes the whole thing where it carries on over to school. So he's learning how to navigate things that we never had to. I mean, if we rode our bikes and, we played a pickup football game and you shoved me in the pickup football game and I shoved you back and then we hit each other and then we got a little scrap. And then it was like, all right, it was over. And then we go back to school on the Monday and then someone's talking, oh, yeah, Ray and Jared got in a fight during the football game and everything else. And that's kind of the end of it.
That's right. Yeah.
It doesn't linger because there's no other spot for it to linger unless you and I go at it again.
Right.
But now it's like it starts. And that's what I'm saying. It's so easy to be a bully where these little group chats of excluding someone from a group chat. So, I mean, we do it. We have group text messages with our friends. Yeah. And if you don't have a side group text message about the people that are in the main group text message,
it's pretty sick.
Right? I mean, everybody does.
That's a tough rabbit hole right there. That's a tough rabbit hole. But I think that's for people that just love to just be in that, right? In that negativity, in that spectrum. I think sometimes people just love to be just in that.
Yeah. They are. And you know what? And sometimes those people are good to have around for 2 reasons. One, they're going to give you all the information that you are curious about that you didn't really seek to find, but they'll just give it to you. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's fine. And then sometimes it's like, man, I kind of really need to know what's going on without trying to ask everybody what's going on.
Right.
We lost a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so the side group, all that stuff right there of people wanting to be in the know or people wanting to gossip, I guess. I guess it's easier to gossip, right? It used to be the barbershop, the hair salon, that was always the joke. That's where guys, the old men would go have coffee and breakfast in the morning and they would have their gossip but it was kind of over right then and there. Then you go back and you try to tell your spouse. But now it's so easy to gossip, especially when everybody uses Facebook as their front yard. And put all the information out there so easily that, you make yourself a target for gossip.
When you say, a name came to my mind, I'm not going to say the name, but it's just amazing how, all the personal information that they put out there. All the personal information. I don't understand that. I know when you're on Facebook, you're putting stuff that, some successes here and there, right? From your kid, from yourself, the family. But I just don't get when people are just putting all of their business out there.
You know, and like that's another one of those like interesting aspects of it is the fact of, you know, we said like whenever we talked about sports, like no one ever said that I want my kid to specialize, but yet it's so many kids specialize, right? No one, I don't think I've ever, I know I haven't. I've never had a conversation with someone who literally puts every single bit of their personal information on Facebook mainly, right? I've never had a conversation with them about that. No. And I don't even know if they would feel comfortable to say, like, I don't even know how that conversation would go. If I just came up to you and just said, hey, man, why do you put all your crap on Facebook? I don't know how they receive it. I almost kind of want to just to see. And it's like, in my head, I've already had this conversation of if I do that, they're going to say, oh, I don't care what people think. But you obviously do because you put it all out there. Like,
right.
Like what else?
No, they do care.
They have to care. And it's okay to care.
I've had that conversation.
You have.
And the conversation goes like this. Hey, how's it going? It's going well.
And that's it.
They can't talk.
There's no doubt.
They can't talk. They can't talk like this.
Like just to have a conversation.
They cannot have a conversation with you. So. But they'll put it all out there on Facebook.
So, well, people don't know how to have a conversation just in general.
Well,
like
nowadays,
I say, yeah. Like I think people struggle to have just a long form conversation as much as they struggle to have a throwaway elevator conversation. You know, like just a small talk and things like that. Like that isn't something that happens a lot. People don't know how to do it. People get really flustered whenever someone says, you know, good morning. They're like, how are you? And that's it. It's like, that's the end of it, you know, like they don't even know to have how's the weather conversation, you know, right? That's like the lowest form of conversation is asking someone how the weather is.
Right.
But at the same time too, like asking that question right there provides a little bit of insight to something of their personality. You can get shut down right away whenever you ask someone that, but like just being able to engage, to feel comfortable to ask someone a question that doesn't really mean anything, just to say hi, it probably has a lot to do with a few things. For me to be able to do that really easy. One, being in retail for so many years and having so many customers come into my store. And it's just, I have to tell them hi and they feel comfortable and it makes them feel good. And I know how to navigate that conversation, take it right where I need it to be, ask them the question to end the conversation, you know, which is a skill that a lot of people, I mean, I call it a skill because of the fact that I know I can do it. Like I can have a conversation with anyone.
Because you've also utilized that skill where?
At the poker table.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that's it. Whenever you just said too, where you were like, people, they freeze up. You ask the guy, man, why do you put all your stuff on Facebook? I don't know. You know, they don't know. And
No. It wasn't like, why do you put it on Facebook? It's more, what's going on? How's it going? It's good. Good.
Just good.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. Yeah, I saw you put that thing about the thing, you know, last week. How's that going? Yeah.
And that was it.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's the kind of responses you would get from a person that puts all this stuff on Facebook. And the next question I should have followed up with is, it's pretty easy to put on Facebook. Well, why don't you conversate about it, man? But I never did. I should have, but I never did.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting to find someone that would be willing to say why they post everything, you know. And sometimes it's because, you know, they don't have family that lives here or something like that, you know. But it's not even that though, because like the family aspect isn't it. To me, it's the interaction. Like whenever they post the thing about the interaction that they had with someone at a grocery store. You know,
negative.
Like that's the kind of thing, you know, like it has nothing to do with like pictures and stuff like that. Like that's great. Like we make fun of one of my best friends for that because he posts pictures and we clown him. Me, my wife, his wife. We just make fun. But
the food pictures you're talking about? Like
no,
okay.
Not food pictures. Just random posts,
okay.
right?
Okay.
You know, like and we pick on him about it and everything else, and he's just like, no, man. He's like
bully, right? Bullying him.
I guess we bully him. We do. We bully him a lot about it. We give him a hard time.
Yeah.
But he's a good sport about it. But he has a very valid point too. He was like, you know what? One day, whenever this picture is going to pop up 15 years from now, or whenever the kids were doing this, and we're not going to be mad that we got to see that picture. And he's not wrong, but we can't give him that satisfaction right now. Like we have to completely just go at him, clown him, make fun. But at the same time, I'm thankful because whenever he does post that stuff and he tags us on it, he knows exactly who he is whenever he listens to this.
Right.
But it's perfect though. But
Right.
that's such a different situation because of the fact of like it's positive experiences that he's
that's
posting.
positive experiences, but that's not the same as what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about somebody that, like you said, the negative interaction with that person at the grocery store, and they were right the whole time, even though they might have been wrong the whole time. They were right the whole time.
Speaking of grocery stores and being right and wrong. All right. At the grocery store, you cart full of stuff, unloading your car. What do you do with the cart?
Well, when I'm done, I look for that little where you put the carts away at. I don't know what it's called.
Just cart return?
Yeah, the cart return. I look for the cart return.
And you just kind of
take it over there.
And you bring it there.
So
you don't put it in front of your
sometimes
vehicle, right?
No, sometimes
just
I'll grab extra carts.
Yeah.
Take it with me. I look like a fool out there.
So talking about people, judging people on social media and everything else, you know what? This is a good dad rule. If you don't bring the grocery cart back to the cart return or to the grocery store front entrance, I'm going to judge you. Don't be that guy. I'm going to guarantee that my son will never be the guy that doesn't bring the cart back.
No return cart.
Always bring the cart back.
You will be judged.
You should be judged.
Yeah,
I
agree.
It's a terrible character trait to not bring the cart back.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. It's just what's even amazing. You park here, the cart return is here. You put your groceries in here, and you leave the cart there.
Yeah,
the cart return's right here.
It's right there.
Oh, it's amazing.
I've even done the thing of, I'll get that for you, and then grab the cart, and the person's flustered. They don't know how to respond to that. Me bullying them into not bringing the cart back, I guess. But at the same time, too, I'm completely comfortable in that situation.
Yeah.
Whenever I see someone just take the cart and just put it right in the way.
I do it for folks that are a little older than me, a lot older than me. If I see it, if they're
I guess we can give old people the pass.
That's different. But no, it's different because you're offering. So no, it's not the same.
I mean, but should we give old people the pass on that?
No.
Okay.
No, right. If they're able to go in and get their groceries and put them in a cart,
they can take the extra
and bring it out, unload them. They can. Walk
Everybody
over.
counts steps now,
they
right?
Need to,
the fakest way to be healthy is to count your steps.
What is that all about?
I hate it. Are you an Apple Watch guy?
No.
I make fun of all my friends who have Apple Watches that we work out with because it sets the bar about as low as you can possibly set it. Mm-hmm. Because you stood
My wife
up,
is an Apple Watch.
She closes her rings and gets all proud, or she doesn't care.
I don't know.
So like you have rings, right? They have like 3 rings, right? So one ring is you stood up at least one time for 12 hours. It's a great accomplishment. Don't judge people. Another one is activity. So you did some type of activity.
Okay.
And then I don't even know what the third one is.
Wow.
But anyways, it's maybe steps. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
There's steps involved because my wife will talk about steps every now and then.
Yeah. So I got my steps in. Not counting the steps when your hand bounces up and down on the steering wheel. Those count too. Well, I mean, I guess they count. I don't know. People brag about how many steps they took in a day. But yeah, that's I don't know, man.
How does the Apple Watch know though? Is it vibrations from the body?
The Apple Watch we have iPhones. It knows what we're talking about right now.
100%. Watch, we're going to have something on here on our phones after this talking about how to handle bullies.
I hope so. I hope so, because if there's any place that's going to give me the correct information on how to do that, it's going to be in my Facebook feed.
Yeah?
No. No, definitely not.
I think it's the second time you got me with that one.
Yeah, no, but Apple Watches, I don't know. I mean, but then again, I do the fitness thing. Like I said, I have a Whoop band, and a Whoop band is a subscription thing that you pay to help you recover and train to be a world-class athlete at 43. And, but it is helpful though. It does, but it also doesn't congratulate me for standing up 12 times. Like an Apple Watch does.
Well, that's good. But at the same time, look, traditionally, when I'm lifting, it's like, okay, you gotta switch it up some way, somehow. Hopefully that is showing you different things. I hope it's showing you different.
Well,
things.
actually, so this one right here it shows a lot of information as far as which Apple Watch has now too, and I think they've taken a lot of the technology from Whoop, and it'll give you certain metrics as far as like your HRV, which is your heart rate variability, which is one of those things that gives you a barometer of your overall health and recovery. Your HRV is judged while you're sleeping, right? So like that's where your HRV comes from. It's not like your inner or your strain or whatever that you exert while you're working out. It has to do with your recovery aspect of it. And then same. I mean, Apple now apparently gives that too. Garmin gives that metric as well too. And then what's another? Well, like resting heart rate. Like that's kind of a big deal. Like I don't know if you know what your resting heart rate is, but like that's a big number. Like a high resting heart rate is a sign that like you're not. Your blood flow isn't great, right? Your breathing isn't what it should be, or it's elevated. So like people who have like a really high resting heart rate, like in like 60s or I guess 70s is probably high. But mine on the other hand is like really low because my base of running for so long. So like I have a resting heart rate that's in the low 50s, and people who don't run or do like endurance type training and things like that, like theirs is going to be naturally higher. But even to the point where mine can be low, where you're supposed to let doctors know, like going to the surgery, hey, I'm a runner. Hey, this is like that way they know that your heart rate isn't low and they have concern for it. My sister went through that where, they asked, they're like, hey, like your heart rate's kind of low. She's like, I'm a runner. And they're like, okay, no big deal.
Really?
Yeah. So like, that's kind of a big deal to know like your resting heart rate and where you're at with that.
Because my wife's is low.
Yeah.
Like below, but she's not a runner.
No, but she does a lot of cardio stuff.
Not really.
No. So she's probably just healthy.
It's just low, just really weird. And I mean, she's been going. I want to say she's been rocking and rolling. But before that though, it was low. It was just weird.
Weird. I mean that's a good thing though. Good for her.
Yeah.
That's that's like the HRV, the heart rate variability, where like we have a little group that we bully each other in on our Whoop group. And we look at, you can see everybody's recovery. You can kind of stalk them to see where their recovery is and everything else and their HRV. And mine is through the roof. And I don't know why. Like when I say like theirs is like in the 30s and 40s and mine's in the high 90s and the hundreds.
Really?
And it's supposed to be a unique number to yourself. There's so much information that I don't know about it that I am trying to learn and figure out what it is. Because if mine is high and it should be high, and that's a sign of being in good health, then I want to make sure that I'm there, because something that I've been doing over the last like 8 months or so has paid dividends, and I don't want to get off of that.
Right.
You know? And so, and that's the thing. It's like, as far as like talking about the health thing, and I might have mentioned it, like I've never been this healthy before in my life. I grew up, I was a fat kid whenever I grew up, like I was a fat kid not that long ago kind of thing,
Yeah, in your 20s you were a fat kid. I was like, well, and then when I started seeing you after the fact, when you came up this way, you're changing.
I was.
When you started getting into the different types of CrossFit. You started getting
and running and everything else. Yeah. And then also too, and having a young kid. And we talked about like, he doesn't care that I'm old or anything like that. Like he's going to want to go and I'm going to want to go. Right. And like, and that was part of it. Just kind of that shift of trying to stay healthy and live as long as I can.
But I think your journey has been consistent. Like,
it has been consistent.
When I say consistent, I'm talking like for me, like I've taken like 4 months off. Because
how do you do that?
Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm inconsistent as heck, and it's ridiculous. But you've had a consistent journey from the last time I saw you.
Yeah, with a lot of ups and downs in there, as well.
But it's been consistent.
But there's always been I've always tried to keep at least a trend going in the direction that allows me to do. But I've always enjoyed sports and I've always been active. So even whenever I was just fat and whatever gross as far as what I can see, I was still want to do something. You want to go play pickup basketball? Cool, let's go play. We're gonna go play football, whatever. Let's go play. Like I was still ready.
What was your sport in high school? What was your sport?
Oh no,
baseball.
I loved all of. Baseball, basketball,
organized sport.
Yeah. Baseball, basketball. Did not play football. Didn't play soccer. So no, I still like basketball. I still go out in North Cyprus. I'll go get up shots in the morning before we go work out sometimes. Things like that. So, yep. That right there was a 40-minute timer.
Really?
And the reason why that 40-minute timer was on was because from the workout that I did this past weekend, that was set for 40 minutes. And that was it. I had to work out for 40 minutes, and it was 1 minute, this movement, and the second minute, this movement, third minute, that movement, and went on and on and on. So,
how many movements do you do when you're working out?
So my favorite.
I try to do 8. What do you do?
No, but I still have I have CrossFit brain. Right.
Okay.
So I try to do, I enjoy those types of movements, and some of them are barbell movements. Some of them are strictly cardio movements. And so my favorite style of workout is called an EMOM. So it's every minute on the minute, right? So it's for 1 minute, you're going to do something. And so the Saturday workout that I did was, it was a complex, right? It was a barbell complex for the first minute, and it involved power clean to a shoulder press, to back rack, right? It's a power clean, and then a front squat, and then a shoulder press, and then you rest the bar behind your head, you do a back squat, and then you do another shoulder press and set the bar down.
How many reps per exercise?
So that was one complex right there for minute 1. And then minute 2 was double unders. So we do 30 double unders.
Okay.
So a jump rope, and the rope goes under your feet twice. So 30 of those.
Okay.
After you do 30 of those, you rest till the third minute. The third minute, I have a rower that you guys can't see that's in the sweat shed. And the rower was a 15-calorie row. So you get on the rower, they have a counter, 15 calories. Takes me about, I don't know, whatever, 40 seconds or so. Probably not even that long. And then after I'm done with that. And then the fourth minute was box jumps or box jump overs, right? Or no, box jumps. Yeah, box jump overs, yeah. So literally jump over the box, step off to the other side, jump over the box, and it was 10 of those. And then we repeated it. So it was 4 movements in that workout, instead of being 8 rounds because it was 40 minutes long.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's pretty good.
And that
sounds like a fantastic workout too.
Yeah, I was toast after it was over. So like those types of things. So whenever I do a workout, it'll involve like something with a dumbbell, something with a box, pull-up bar, toes to bar, something like that.
Yeah, social media, man. I'm telling you. I'm watching. I need something different. 40-minute workout, everything to failure. So 8 movements to failure. You're walking out of the gym in 40 minutes to an hour, having the best workout ever, right?
And that's all strength stuff, or like body weight stuff?
Yeah, all strength stuff. Yeah, if you do a bench, you do a shoulder press, you do a incline bench, you do a barbell.
So just movements that would involve some type of strength movement, 40 minutes to 40 failure.
Minutes to failure, right? Each exercise.
So once you fail that, then you go on to the next exercise.
To the next exercise.
And then once you
you take a minute break.
Right? And you come right back to it.
And you go to the next one.
Yeah, so like that's got some CrossFit in there. It's not going to have the cardio-based stuff that, I say cardio-based stuff. It's not going to have like the jump rope and the box jump and stuff like that, because you're always using some type of weight.
I do a little bit of that cardio stuff with, like we talked about the HIIT training, right?
Yeah.
So I'll do a rotation. I'll do a 4 exercise rotation. Lighter weight, a lot more reps. I say 10 sets, but doesn't get there.
But not 10 sets.
We'll get to 8 maybe. Sometimes we'll get to 8.
Well, if you stop drinking sodas,
come on,
and German chocolate coffee, we'll probably get a little bit better whenever we as we move along.
You're right.
So let's have some kind of challenge for you, Ray. Let's do that, right? So
a challenge for me.
Yeah, so we're doing episode. I'm down for a challenge too. Throw something at me. I'm gonna get a bar muscle up before the end of this year.
I like that.
I am going to get that. So that'll be it. Bar muscle up is where you kind of start to do a pull up, but then you get your waist all the way above the bar and extend your arms. I will have that. So before the end of the year, I will have one of those.
I was ecstatic when I had like I said, I hadn't worked out in 4 months, and I dropped down. And part of it was because I had a tear in my shoulder, and I couldn't do 6 push-ups.
That's not good.
Boy, I couldn't do 6 push-ups.
I saw this thing the other day where it was like, I got to find it, right? Another bad podcasting moment, bringing up a topic I can't remember all the details of. But it was like the average can the average male that is 40 years old do these things? And it was like 30 unbroken push-ups. It was deadlift twice your body weight.
I've seen
squat
those on social
like
media
1.5 times your body weight or something like that.
I've
Like
seen that benching your body weight.
Yeah.
You bench your body weight.
Yeah.
'Cause if
Which
you
I think
can do
all
these
those things are relevant, like
yeah.
just to like helping you grow old. I mean, that's that whole thing where
Can't
people
do a pull up.
you can't do a pull up.
I can, but it's just 1, 2.
So
I should be able to do more than that. But I'm a
how
big
many
boy.
do you think you should be able to do?
10
10 strict pull ups.
strict pull ups.
So we're gonna go like dead hang or you can have a little tension on the bicep there before you go up.
What do you mean by tension on the bicep?
So like in a dead hang pull up, right? Would be full let go, all slack, all weight on the grip, and then pull yourself up, and then
that's
the
what I'm
next
talking
rep
about.
was all there.
I'm talking
What I mean,
about
a little
like if
tension
I'm
on the
on a
bicep.
cliff. I'm talking about if I'm on a cliff, I got to be able to pull myself up.
So
What do you mean by tension? What do you mean by tension on bicep? Sorry.
meaning like you don't fully relax before you engage on the next one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like
Which is
before you
still
come off-
a pull up. It's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing different. But like if
see
you're
what
gonna
you're
go
saying,
like
though.
David Goggins mode, like he talks about like
like,
dead hang to where it's completely just completely one
That's
rep,
him,
chin
yeah,
above
yeah.
the bar, arms completely locked out, all weight, resting on the grip strength, and then pull yourself up again.
Goggins is like next level, dude.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. That's a book right there, man. I don't know if you are a reader or anything. I don't know how many books you pick up in a year, but I do. I like to read. I like audiobooks as well. If there's ever an audiobook that you do, is David Goggins.
Is he talking? Is he the one?
No, which makes it better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he has a guy that actually does the narrating for him. He's got 2 books out, right? The first book, unbelievable. Second book, good. First book, re-listen. You can, I mean, it's like, it could be your favorite movie type thing where if it's on, you should just listen to it. Guy's been through some stuff in his life, to say the least. But the guy that he has reading the book for him is unbelievable. And what they do is, it's not just this guy reading the book. He reads, Goggins interjects. And they talk about things. So he'll get to like to the end of a chapter or a certain
Goggins
moment.
is on there.
So Goggins and him are there. Goggins has a bit of a speech impediment too, right? Like he hates the way he talks and everything else and doesn't want to hear it. And he stumbles over his words. And so the guy that he has that narrates it is unbelievable at narrating it. And sometimes he's got to stop and catch himself because it just gets so deep and dark and the things that the guy went through in his life. It's next level. But if there's an audio book to listen to and in a format to listen, like it becomes a thing that I judge all audiobooks by.
Oh, really?
Because he didn't just sit there and read his own book and tell you how great he was. It was somebody else reading it, and you can hear their emotion as they're reading this story. And then Goggins, the guy who the story is about, is right there and giving feedback on it.
So I think he's written a few different things.
He's got 2 for sure. I think he's got 2 books.
Okay, I thought it was more than 2. So it's the latest book that you're talking about?
The first one.
The first one.
The first one.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Right. And then there's certain books too. So, man, I went through one and it was I hate listened to an entire audiobook by Jay Glazer. It was absolutely
really?
It was horrible.
But at least you got to experience it though.
No, I didn't need to. I mean, I'm my takeaway from it was that it was the worst. It was so bad.
Jay Glazer.
Yeah,
wow.
his book was so bad. It was like half motivational, half what I thought he was going to tell cool stories about guys from the NFL, but it was just about basically like him saying like, I'm really cool and these people want to do this. And like this fake motivational stuff and oh man, it was so bad.
Wow.
It was, like I said, I'm sitting there and I was texting my buddy Davey, who you know Davey as well, back from poker days and everything.
Yes.
He's one of my best friends in life. His kids call me uncle. My son calls him uncle and his wife aunt, like that kind of relationship. And I would just randomly text him Jay Glazer quotes from this book because it was that cringy. It was that bad. It was really that bad. Wow. Yeah. There's another one too that was kind of like a Tim Kennedy. So, I mean, a lot of guys might know who Tim Kennedy is. You know, he was a badass in the military. I don't know if he was a SEAL or not. Doesn't really matter. He was a badass in the military. He was also
the only ones that could talk about it.
Yeah, but he was also an MMA fighter too. But then again, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and so like he does like these crusades
at the same time. He was an MMA fighter and he was an operator at the same time. Yeah.
And so But his book was so bad too. And it wasn't that it was bad because once you started, like you're listening to the stories and you're just like, oh my God, like this guy never lost a fight. Like he never lost a fight. He was it's just everything about, I'm like, man, like your story is cool. Your experiences are really cool. Like the things that you have done and like you could just give that and be there, but it was so many more extra facts that were just unnecessary just to tell you how great he was. And then once I started thinking about, oh my God, here we go. Here's another story about how he's just such a badass and he's just the coolest dude in the world. And he beat up 12 guys and just everything else. And it just kind of went on and on and on and on and on. And yeah, it wasn't that great. But anyways, I asked you if you read books and then I told you about everything I do.
No, no, I more fiction stuff. I read more fiction stuff than I do nonfiction.
All right, well then let me judge you. What kind of fiction do you read?
It's like fantasy, sci-fi kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just for the vocabulary, but it doesn't help. What I told you, I was a geek, man.
I know, man. I know. Yeah. Sci-fi stuff, though. I mean, yeah, no, not a sci-fi. No. I'm really not a nonfiction guy. I mean, a fiction guy in general. Like I'm so much more. I like biographies and autobiographies and things like that.
I've tried like no, I'm not going to.
All right.
I had no, I'm not going to. No.
Why not? They're not going to hear this.
No. Oh man, what is his name? He was fashion. He's not in the U.S. anymore because of some Diddy stuff that he probably was involved in. You know what I mean?
Probably involved in.
Yeah. He was a producer. God dog it. I can't remember his name.
All right. Oh, that's why you couldn't remember his name. All right. I thought you were like didn't want to mention it because it was something. But no. But yeah, I enjoy the nonfiction stuff. I want to hear about people's life experiences or something that seems really interesting or someone's story. You know, there was one where it was a girl who defected from North Korea, and that was. Her book was intense. Her interview on Rogan was super intense. Yeah. And like that one right there, I'm like, man, some of that stuff was just hard to get through in such a moving way. You know, you just realize like, yeah, like the struggle of what people go through. And you're like, man, we were talking about bullying earlier. And it's just like the bullying of someone being mean to you in a locker room or someone, you know, passing a comment because they wouldn't let you be part of their clique for the weekend. And then you realize that like this was just trying to live. And then you escape. And then you're being judged by the people in the area that you escaped from because they think you're beneath them. But like, you know, and it's just like, man, like, you know.
It was so sick. I think I saw something about her when she was talking about we were happy in the springtime because it was grass to eat.
Yeah, that's
something of that nature. But in the wintertime, it sucked. It sucked because it was nothing. You know what I mean? I saw something about her in regards to that, and the reason why it resonates with me so much is because my mother is Korean, right? Of course, from South Korea.
Yes,
and they know about what goes on over there. All the tragedy. I mean, it's tragic. It's tragic, and it just kills me when I hear people going, I hate the United States. I hate the U.S. I hate it. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, the inherent racism that goes on in other places, and you realize that as bad as it is over here, it's worse there. Ours is just so much more in the face. Not saying that the racism that goes on here isn't bad, but it's just one of those things where it's like, it's different. I mean, I've traveled, I've seen it. I mean, if you watch European soccer at all, you realize that those guys have horrible experiences based on the color of their skin for these teams that they play for. Yeah. You know, it's a low-hanging fruit where whenever the easiest way to insult someone is to point out the obvious, like and then that just, you know, like those are not the intelligent people. Like they're not going at you from a standpoint of trying to demean you. They're just going at you because this is what they know they can cut you with, you know, and that happens so much more. And, you know, like that's one of those weird things too, where Ray and I were having a conversation where we were coming up with the art for it. And I was like, you know what, Ray and I have enough mutt in us that, you know, our skin tones match with the filters that we were using. And that's one too, where I grew up in Homa and my last name Parfait gets a lot of reaction out here. But down there, it's, oh, that's the dumb Indians from down the bayou.
Really?
Yeah. So Parfait, you know,
wow.
and like that's,
I love that last name.
You
That's
know,
why I always call you Parfait.
well, no, I mean, everybody does, you know, my brother goes by his last name with his friends and everything else, but no, like, I mean, that's it. Like that's where we're part of the homeless tribe. I mean, that's where our ancestors are. And
I know there's a lot of Indians down there, and you know, I mean, there's mixed people down there, but I didn't know.
No, even to the point where when you talk about like things that
racism against Indians.
Yeah.
Or Native Americans.
I mean, Native Americans now, and that's one of those things too, where people are like, oh, Indians, whatever. It's not a social sensitivity aspect by saying Native Americans or Indians. Now there is such a large Indian population in the United States that when you say Indian, when I hear Indian, I think of someone from India.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the whole thing. I'm like, because I know so many Indian guys. You know, like I work with a lot of them. I know a lot of them. They're customers of mine. And it's just like, no, when I hear Indian, like that's what I think of. Like Native American is something totally different. It's not me being socially insensitive or socially, you know, sensitive, should I say.
Right.
Because someone refers to me as an Indian. I'm like, well, you know, Native American is probably what we should say, just to have a more defined line of actually who we're talking about from an ethnicity standpoint.
Right.
But no, my dad and my aunts, like when you talk about things and racism not being that far removed, they weren't allowed to go to high school without permission.
Whoa.
That's not that long ago.
No.
You know, and that was the thing. Like my aunts are still heavily involved with some of this stuff, but yeah, like that was the standard. Like like the school ended. Like that was the Indian school. Like just like it was the black school. Like they had the certain schools that they went to. Like I said, my dad was born in 1953.
Right.
It's not that long ago. Whenever you know when you put things in perspective, as far as whenever he was only allowed to go to like 9th grade unless he got special permission to go to the high school.
Well, I think at this at the same time, even back then, you know, we were talking last time. You're like, your dad plays sports. Like, no, he was worried about other stuff.
Yeah,
He
was worried about just being a black man in Texas. You know, at one time, Arkansas. Yeah. Texas would have been better.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And it's the reality of it. But like that all kind of circles back into like the whole bullying thing, where it was like, yeah, like. He got bullied in a totally different way than what kids are getting bullied nowadays. It doesn't mean that his struggle was hard. It was just the struggle that he had. You know, like that's what someone said. Like, you can't. It was a conversation I was having with someone, and they were talking about, I can't say that what you went through isn't as bad as what I went through because it's the worst thing that you experienced. If that makes sense. It's a lot of words, but basically it's like the worst thing that you experience is the worst thing that you experience.
That's right.
And mine is my worst thing.
The only thing you can give them is empathy, right? You can say, well, I mean, I wasn't there. I can't be sympathetic to what happened to you because I didn't feel it, but I'm sorry.
You see, so like that.
Empathetically.
Yeah. So like the I'm sorry thing though, like that, and certain people, the I'm sorry carries more weight than others. I think it could be a cop-out response.
I know you're going.
You know what I mean? I really do. Like, I think like saying I'm sorry, I'm like, no, man, like, don't be sorry. Like, don't. Like, if you're ask me about it specifically. Let me tell you I don't want to talk about it rather than just say I'm sorry for it.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing. It's like, if it's up in conversation, be like, hey man, you want to talk about it? You want to, like, let me know what happened. And they're like, oh, I really don't want to have that conversation. Okay, that's fine. If you ever do want to have that conversation, I'd be willing to listen to hear your experience, and maybe it'll just make me a better person one day.
But if you knew and you go, I'm sorry.
I still don't say it.
No?
I still don't. Like, even to the point where, you know what, and I almost feel bad because I say it's become my stock response, but it truly is genuinely how I feel whenever someone does experience. I was like, I typically tell them, I wish I had the perfect words for you, but I don't.
Oh, that's good. That's your response, though.
That is like
that's
when and that's the thing. And it's like, I know I have sent that to multiple people, but it's genuinely how I feel. Like, of course, I am sorry that you experienced this tragedy in your life. Like, of course I am. Like, you're my friend. I care about you. Yes, I'm sorry for your loss. T's and P's, you know, all that stuff. Like, yes, that is it. But my genuine feeling is that I know I can't tell you anything to make you feel better. I'm your friend. If you want to talk about that, I'm here to talk about that. If you want to talk about something else that has nothing to do with it, I can be the release for that as well.
Right. No. I get that.
That's typically the line that I try to go with. And it probably has a lot to do with some of the stuff that happened in it definitely has to do with stuff that happened in my life as a young child that we will get into later on down the line for sure, because it's an experience that most people don't grow up with. And whenever it does happen, it is. Lost my mom at a young age. Like I said, we'll have that conversation another time, and that experience is so different for so many different people.
Right.
Whenever you lose a parent.
Right.
And I think that is one of the things that has shaped my opinion as far as not saying the I'm sorry, because I probably heard it so much.
You probably did. Yeah, it makes sense.
That it falls on deaf ears. And I'm like, and that's why I say I don't have the perfect words for you, And so that's where, that's where it goes. But but all that, kind of revolving around just the different experiences your dad experienced in racism in Arkansas. He had a lot bigger things to worry about than making the athletics team of whatever sport he loved. And then at the same time too, protecting his son as best he could, but also too realizing like, hey man, this is the reality of it. Like you're gonna have to deal with it. And, and waiting for you to come to him. Just like whenever you said with sports, like he didn't come to you to preach to you and tell you, hey, you better get out there working. But at the same time, like, hey, man, the other guy's working. You got a choice.
Yep.
You decide.
So very true. So very true. So I don't know. I mean, you come back to it and you start thinking about what do you do or how do you lead a kid that's dealing with being bullied today? What... I don't know if you join a support group or you talk to your boys. It's just tough with social media and everything that's going on. It's just tough because I know when I was coming up, it's like, it's going to go away. It's going to go away because it does. It goes away. And
it does go away. But I think tough. That's the thing is that it doesn't go away. Like we said, if you and I got in a fight on the weekend while we were playing a pickup game of football and then we went back to school on Monday, it did go away. Because it's not going to be rehashed. It's not going to keep going on.
We'll probably even dap each other up and go, what's up?
More than likely, that's probably what would happen. But nowadays, like the bullying is a slow leak because the bullies are so protected. Protected by overprotective parents, protected by just being able to be a keyboard warrior and talk about somebody.
But what happens sometimes when the bully does get beat up? What happens to the kid that beat up the bully?
To the kid that beat him, I mean, hopefully they walk away.
They get in trouble as well.
Oh yeah. From that, I thought, from an actual standpoint, yes, they're probably going to get in trouble. But I also think that's one too, where it's just like they're getting in trouble. But who are they getting in trouble with? They're getting in trouble with the authorities at school. Man, to hell with those people, because more than likely the parent is going to be like, you handle that the way you're supposed to handle that. And we're going to live with the results of what,
Hopefully, right?
I think so. I don't think a parent is going to get on their child for
why are the authorities? Do you think is this woke mentality? You think?
I think it's lawyers.
Lawyers?
I think it's because everyone is so willing to. It's a litigious society, to say the least.
Well, I get
and
that,
so like
if
my kid, just anywhere, my kid gets beat up at school. I don't care if he's a bully. What you mean? Your kid beat him? Oh, he's been bullying him. Yeah, but that doesn't make it right. And then it becomes a whole stink. I think that I said it earlier. We live in a very non-confrontational society, and that goes for every aspect of it. It's very easy to bully because people are non-confrontational, and then it's also same aspect goes with the administration in schools, where whatever they can do to make the situation go away, I think is what they do first. And if the situation is over, then all right, that's fine. We dealt with it. They didn't necessarily resolve it, but they dealt with it and then on to the next one. So whatever makes everybody stay calm, and not run to Facebook and blast it and ruin everything and then have news cameras there because something happened. And I think like that's the biggest fear is that these schools get unwanted attention from different areas that we handle the incident, it's over. But it's most of the time it's not, and I think that's whenever you have these really tragic school situations.
Here's some insight. Teach your kid how to be a little witty. Give them as much information about stuff as possible. What do you mean by stuff? Stuff. Just be able to just tell that kid that says, I don't know, says something about him, and he can just come back and say something right back at him and just put him right in his place, and then that's it.
And I try to do that, right? So I like stand-up comedy, right? So that's the thing about I love stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy geek. Love it all, from the old stuff to the new stuff and the comedians that everybody has ever heard about and everything else. And I don't like silly comedians.
Silly. Talking about silly.
Like Larry the Cable Guy.
Okay.
Sebastian Maniscalco. Like the very theatrical and the big, I like.
There's this guy that I've seen recently.
Who's that?
Curly hair. Are you a goofy guy? Are you a goofy? You ever see
Is that
guy?
Sebastian?
No.
Okay.
He's a young comedian.
Yeah.
Got that mustache. He looks Middle Eastern a little bit.
I'm not
Dark
sure.
complexion.
But
again, not having enough information.
yeah.
Right?
But I like comedians that are take me on a journey, be smart, be mean, doesn't matter. Like I like a storyteller comic.
And they always come back to
and that's it. And like they'll kind of they'll go through it. And
give me an example.
You have to example of a comedian.
Yeah.
I love Tom Segura.
Segura.
So like I like Bert's silly and he's goofy, right? So Bert and Tom.
I don't like the no shirt thing.
I don't, but at the same time too, like I
get it, but
like I was a fan of Bert. Like I feel like he gets so much crap, right, for taking the shirt off and everything else, and interrupts everybody, laughs at his own jokes and all this stuff. But it's like I started liking Bert before he was famous. Like way before he was famous. He was like a guest on a radio show.
Okay.
And I heard him tell a story. I'm like, oh, he's funny.
Was he taking his shirt off then?
No, it was on a radio show.
Okay.
It would have just been weird.
Yeah. So weird.
So, but I was like, and then I went and see him here in New Orleans. I say here. I went and see him in New Orleans at the Joy Theater. So the Joy Theater is not a very big theater. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't even know if it's 500 people. It might be like 350, but we're right in that 500, only like 500 people. I saw him there. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Small venue, intimate. And then he came back to New Orleans and he was at the Sanger. So that's like 3,500 people, 4,000 people, right? So like, then I saw him there. Mm-hmm. And then the next time he came back to New Orleans, he was in the arena.
Wow.
And so like seeing someone progress. So like I saw his jokes and his sense of humor and everything else. Same thing too, like whenever comedy specials come on, like Netflix and things like that, the bigger the crowd, the worse the performance. The bigger the crowd, the worse the performance. Every single time. Because they're playing to 10,000 people. But whenever you have a comedian on stage at the Joy Theater and he's playing to 400 people,
it's different story.
It's so intimate.
Yeah.
So like it provides just such a different thing. So like whenever someone releases a comedy special on Netflix or, or whatever, on YouTube or something like that, mm-hmm. the smaller the venue, almost always better the jokes. Because it's not loud. Like Kevin Hart, he's playing Lincoln Financial Field with 60,000 people. Like he's not funny because he's trying to talk to the guy sitting at the top of the arena or, or the top of the stadium. Mm-hmm. But if he had 1,000 people, mm-hmm. his jokes are going to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. He was funnier.
So
before.
But
he
yeah.
was funny. Yeah.
But trying to, but like, point. That's where, like, that's what I like. I like comedians that can talk through something, find dark humor. I have a dark sense of humor.
Yes.
That
it's going to come out. I promise you.
So I don't know.
You've been hearing bits and pieces of it. You have been hearing bits and pieces.
And I know that there are people that don't think that I'm having anything funny to say ever, and I'm not trying to be funny. Like it is the sarcasm and things like that. Like that's just something that it just happens. In my family, it was the one where if you weren't quick enough to make the joke, then the joke was made about you.
And that's what I'm saying is something that these kids being bullied need to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how you learn that though.
Well,
I really don't. Like I don't know. Does it?
And that's why I put the question out there. Like, how do these parents today, lead their kids or teach their kids? I think that's a piece of. I'm not saying that's the answer.
Yeah. No, but it becomes something that kid can kind of put in their back pocket to be able to talk themselves out of a situation or smooth the situation over.
Right. Being a little funny or being a little goofy guy.
Yeah.
So
or not even being goofy, but understanding. Like
I'm just
but
thinking about that.
But being goofy will get you so far. But being able to talk through a situation where, one of my friends told me this. He goes, man, I don't know how you did it. You basically insulted the hell out of that guy, and he just thanked you. And it was a random conversation. I'm like, what do you mean? You were like, you just told him all this stuff that would have come off so mean in other circumstances if you just take word by word of what you said.
It's probably your tone.
But he was like, but he just shook your hand and thanked you. And I was like, well, because I wasn't wrong, and it was genuine. And that's what I was
telling you, your tone had something to do with it too.
More than
if you're screaming at the guy.
Yeah, well,
we're not
that's,
taking it the right way,
what,
right?
and that comes to it whenever we're talking about like being in a convenience store and in that retail experience. I learned a few things. When someone is highly emotional in the situation, there's nothing that you're going to tell them that they're going to say you're right. So if you can understand that, then you can move past it and you can get to their level that's ever going to make them feel like they won the argument and they can have that small battle.
There you go.
And I think that's one thing right there where as you're kind of saying it and as we're talking through it, I think that is the biggest thing where if I can teach my son to be smarter than the other guy, be wittier than the other guy, make him feel dumb for what he's doing to where it's only going to click in his head. Don't make fun of him. Don't belittle him. But make a comment to him that's going to make him think. And I try to do that with him now. I do try to do that with him now.
That is good.
So whenever he says something about it, I'm like, well, then just tell him this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, why? I'm like, well, because. I was like, because it's true. And because you think it's ridiculous what he's saying. So just tell him that. And then he's like, well, what's he going to say? I'm like, doesn't matter. He has no comeback because you're right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so like he's trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I could see it. And sometimes he'll ask me, he's like, hey, well, Dad, someone said this. And then I told him that. And I'm like, yeah, that works. Like, you can do that. I was like, you have to be what? You have to be careful. I was like, you can't call him a name. I was like, you call him a name, then you're going to get in trouble. But if you just use the words that are obvious, they can get mad at you because you're being, sarcastic or a smart aleck.
Yeah.
Like, you can get in trouble for that. I mean, not unless it's an adult, obviously.
Right.
But even with an adult, choose your words wisely and let them see that you have logic behind what you're saying.
And they'll respect it.
And, and they'll come to it. You don't have to belittle them.
Well, unless, like we talked about before, you can't fix stupid. So if they're stupid, doesn't matter.
No. And those people right there, and then that's the whole thing. You can't, why argue with someone who has no rationale?
None. Yeah, exactly.
You can't. It's kind of like you can't argue with the person who left the grocery cart in front of their car. No. They know that it wasn't right. So whenever I'll walk up to it and I say, hey, let me get that for you, what are you going to say? There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say.
Okay.
So remember that.
Thanks,
we're going to
buddy.
Judge you anytime you leave the grocery cart out. And you should feel ashamed of yourself.
You should.
Just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Or a lot. So.
Dude.
You think we did it?
I think we did it.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things we covered there, right?
We did.
So, but it felt good. A little bit of therapy session for Ray and I. Another go around at it.
I had some flashbacks during that time.
So some flashbacks, but also, with some good moments too, where I'm trying to recall some of those things as far as what happened to me whenever I was a kid, or what I might have done to someone else. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, that's the kind of stuff right there that we're sitting here and we're trying to work through and figure out and be a better parent and be a better dad. And there's a lot of people out there that can give us a lot of advice that may think that we're completely wrong. And if you did, I'm not going to be offended by it. The thoughts that I have are because they're things that I have considered and evaluated, and I thought it was the best course of action. You give me a better way to do it, I am all for it because I don't want to mess up. I got a 9-year-old, and I don't want to mess up. So if you guys can help me out, please let me know because I'm all ears in a non-condescending tone.
Yep, me as well, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why we're talking about these things, and that's why we're trying to get through these things, and maybe somebody out there would have a good suggestion. So thank you for joining.
Until next time, this is
New Dad Order.